Hi, if you're interested in downloading a high-definition version of this file, click on the link in the About This Video section of YouTube. Welcome to Part 3 of 3D Grips in Inventor 2008. Let's take a closer look now at how we can more precisely control the behavior on 3D grips. If I go ahead and edit one of these features with 3D grips, notice that when I click on it and drag, it snaps in very precise spacing. In this case, it's 1/16 of an inch increments. That's controlled in the document settings. So if I go to the document settings and I go to the modeling tab, I can enter the snap spacing. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and enter in 1 inch. So now when I go to the feature and I edit with 3D grips and I drag it, it snaps in 1 inch increments. And let's see, I'll just go ahead and reset this back to 1/16 of an inch. And we'll continue on. Let's take a closer look at the underlying sketches of these features. So here I can see I have two projected geometry lines existing inside of the sketch with the circle. And this might seem a bit curious until we consider the history of how this feature was created. When I initially sketched this feature, I had it sketched so that there were no constraints whatsoever on the circle other than the dimensional constraint. As I executed the move feature option and I brought it close to the edge of the face that I moved it to, constraint geometry was automatically placed inside of the sketch. Now in order for that constraint geometry to be valid, two reference geometry lines had to be projected from the edges of the block. What we see here are the remnants of that edit that I made. Now that reference geometry stays with the sketch. It is still part of the sketch. Even though it's not being used any longer, it is still valid reference geometry that is still part of a valid sketch. Therefore, it remains. Now if I want to, I just go ahead and get rid of this. It's not hurting anything, but I don't need it, and let's just get rid of it. Upon further examination, we can see the tangent constraint associated with this circle that was created during the second move operation. Now as I move these features from face to face, the sketch is continually appended with the appropriate reference geometry and constraints that I choose implicitly. Now those edits to the sketch continually update, they continually propagate into the sketch, sort of collecting more and more reference geometry as I move from face to face. Now this might seem like an issue if you're moving a feature from face to face to face, that all this projected reference geometry still remains even though you're really not using it anymore. But if you think about it, it's probably not an issue because in a practical sense we don't really move features from face to face to face to face that often. That's probably a very rare occurrence. But in the case that we do that, just as I showed you a moment ago, you can just delete the extra geometry that you don't really need, and there's nothing really hurt. Let's take a look now at how dimensions in sketches can affect how 3D grips work. Notice here I have a 2.125 inch diameter dimension placed on the circle. The yellow color indicates that this grip handle is related to an underlying sketch that has a dimension placed on it. So if I edit with a 3D grip, I'm actually editing a dimension inside of a sketch.